Not until we get to these upper doorways that we see your antenna. This is where your antenna and your connection will shine, because that's why we spend so much time in those lower chakras, clearing, releasing, clearing, releasing, clearing, releasing. Something's popping behind me. Clearing, releasing, or just popping, clearing, release. And you know how it seems like forever in a day that you're just clearing, releasing, clearing. It's just like a washing machine. And you're like, when is the spin cycle going to stop? And then just when the spin cycle stops, the rinse cycle comes on again. And they're clearing and releasing, clearing. You're just doing this clearing and releasing. And the reason we do that is because just think of how much accumulated junk is on you from not just this lifetime, but lifetimes, and not just your lifetimes, your parents' lifetimes, their parents' lifetime. And so think about that. That's a lot of spiritual junk that you already come in with. And then when you come to a certain point, you're ready to release that junk, but it has to go through many spin cycles in order for it to get cleansed and released. And then by the time it's cleansed and released and we start getting into these upper chakras, we start to see what is you versus what was that. So the first part of clearing is really identifying and releasing the toxic ancestral lines, the toxic lifetimes, the toxicity that we've been carrying. And so at this point, what you should be noticing is less anger, less frustration, less obstacles, less feeling like you're insane. Okay. Most people feel insane because you have released a lot of that stuff, not all of it, but a lot of it. And depending on you, who you are and what you carry, there may be more, there may be less. Another part of this journey now that we're going into the 10th doorway, and congratulations on making it this far, because this is not for the weak. This, like I've always said, this is a harder process because this is real healing. When you get to this time now we're going to connect to, we are going to go back to what we call your benevolent ancestors, okay, versus your hungry ghost ancestors. Hungry ghosts are loud. Benevolent ancestors are, they're soft, okay? You're going to have to listen hard to hear them because they don't intrude. Hungry ghosts intrude. Tricksters intrude. Hungry ghosts want to be fed. You know how somebody who's starving, like they're starving, especially starving for love, they become all needy and clingy and, you know, like that. That's a hungry ghost. Benevolent ancestors, they're not hungry. They're not hungry. They don't need you. You need them. They don't need you. They're like, yeah, what you want? What you got? What's your problem? I'm trying to give you an answer here, but you're not listening because you're listening to the hungry ghost. You're too hungry to listen. Okay. But the benevolent ancestors are your most devoted ancestors who were the most spiritual, who were the most faithful, who were the most kind, loving, compassionate, connected. They were traditional. They were the ancestors who paved the way. And even through the hunger and the ghosts and all the stuff you've been dealing with, the trauma, their prayers have been working with you. So just think about that even though you've been dealing with all this affliction in your life, all this trauma, all this stuff, there has been some good working in your life that comes from those ancestors, because their ancestral prayers were that strong that they knew there would come a moment in their lineage where you would awaken and you would come back to what they knew. And everybody has these ancestors. If you've been walking on the planet for gabillions of years, you have these ancestors. Now, the thing is some ancestors, it was like a generation or two ago. And some ancestors, it was like 10, 20. Some ancestors, it was thousands of years. Just depending on your ancestral migration routes and how far you had to travel from your homelands. So people who have ancestors from very far away that came a long, long time ago, those ancestors are very deep back there. But if you had ancestors here in America that were were the most faithful, most devoted, it's probably not that far back away. Especially if you think about in Native ancestry, it's 500 years of colonization. That's not that long ago, because there's still people to this day practicing ancestral rites. So it's not that far away. But for most people, if your people came on a boat or plane or something, it's far back. Because when you come to a new town, a new area, a new culture, you blend into that culture. You start taking on those religions, those spiritual practices, and every generation loses a little bit of that old medicine. The interesting thing about this time we're living in is we're going back. People want to reconnect, right? Reconnection is the new thing. Is not that you lost the connection, but it's like, somebody unplugged it and now you're like looking for the cord. And you're like, oh, there it is. That's what's happening to people. They're plugging in the cord and it's happening. And this is going to be a grand awakening, especially in the next couple of years. We're going to see people turning on that connection and looking for that source of where it started. And that's the journey we're about to begin in this 10th doorway, is to reconnect those missing pieces. And see, people want the physical. They want to see it, touch it, feel it. They want to know where exactly that migration was and all that stuff. And they look for the answers on ancestry.com. They look for the answers on what's that other one? Me123, me1, whatever those things are called. Those ancestral websites. And they may give you some hints and clues, but everything you want is within yourself. Everything you need to know about your blood is in you, because it's literally running through your blood. It's here. So when you're ready, you will be shown and revealed what is within you. Now, the hard thing is trusting and believing and having the faith, because it's not something you're going to necessarily like see and touch. You're going to experience it. You're going to feel it. It's going to resonate with you. And then in the physical life, you will be taken to those places and spaces that you need to go to reawaken these memories and these like what I'm going to call keys to your DNA.